Good evening. Welcome to the 12 Man Podcast live on Facebook, on TalkSport as part of the Fan Network, and all good places to listen to your podcasts, and Amazon, Deezer, Spotify, Apple, and all the remaining usual platforms. You got me, Steve Jackson. I'm your host for the evening. Apologies if my voice is giving halfway through. Did a lot of screaming yesterday. Got Mr. John Donovan with me. Evening, John Don.
No, then you okay?
Not bad. How are you? Injury update?
No change really, just ongoing. I've made one game this sort of like last third of the season. That was the Norwich game at home. Obviously missed Saturday. Watched it in my armchair, but yeah, we're going to discuss that out.
We are going to discuss that. Yeah, absolutely right. We are going to discuss that. Yeah, but at least it's not got worse. There's your positive. It hasn't got worse. So, yes. And also, with me is Mr. Jerry Delgado. Evening, Dally.
Always.
How's the head?
Been a long day.
Yes, today was a long day. Good crack though, one day. It was a good day out. But obviously, apart from the obvious. But yeah, we're going to talk about, obviously, people watching live on Facebook realise we are a little bit early with our review of stuff. So we are going to talk about Coventry. We are going to talk about what happened yesterday afternoon. We'll talk about where we got it wrong. Not just yesterday, but the entire season, or the second half of the season. And then we'll ask the big question, which we have put on Facebook for a lot of people to get in touch with us about. Are you Carrick in or are you Carrick out? And I'll ask the boys and ask them to give their opinion on that as well. There could be some feisty, opinions on this one. So get in touch with us. Let us know what you think. We'll go from there. But I usually start with John Don, but I'll start with you, Dally, because you were with me yesterday.
Yeah.
Obviously, very early start. But we were all, I wouldn't say we were in massively good spirit, but we felt we could do something because we've got the capability of doing something, or we felt we did, and that's how the bus was on the way down, wasn't
it? Yeah, I think it was more just it was hope, wasn't it? When we were going down, somehow we still had a possibility of the playoffs, and I say somehow because we know it's been abysmal. You look at the run of form going into it, but a couple of results here and there, and we could have been, where we needed to be. As it happened, obviously the result went the way it did. We didn't make it, but yeah, it was. I think it was more a bit of a party atmosphere, wasn't it, on the bus? Just let's just go and see what happens.
Yeah, it was. And it's, even though everybody did make the early morning, wake up to get us all to come. We all were in good space, and we went to our usual spot. Again, massive thanks to the hospitality of the Old Black Bank. Always good to see the owner in there. He's always in good spirits. He even gained a football top yesterday because Tosh gave him his Borough shirt, which is amazing. Swapped him for a t-shirt out the pub. Which I don't think Tosh quite remembered because he looked at me and went, "Where's my Borough shirt?" So that's another story. But anyway, he got a memento off us. So I did say, "Well, I'll see you next year." But yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know what to talk about the playoffs. So, but we'll get into the team. So the team came out as we were heading to the ground. John Don, I'll come to you on this one. So he did make a change. He did take Iheanacho out. He did bring back in Neto Borges. And what did you make of the team? Because I didn't know what to make of it. I was sat there looking at the team sheet and thinking, I don't know what formation we're playing here.
Yeah, well, I think with Dykesdale in there and Borges coming back, I thought Borges coming back might have made it a back three, but with Dykesdale being in there, I thought, well, and as it turned out, he played a back four and moved Ilin Jr. Further up the pitch, and Iheanacho missed out. Again, the team, to me, it wasn't bad, but it's obviously confidence is an issue. Coventry were strong at home, put out a strong team, So it was always going to be a tough game. We haven't won it the CBS Ricoh Arena, whatever name it went under. So yeah, it was going to be tough. But the team I was okay. I was fairly happy with. I think Aileen Junior has done a half decent job filling in at left back. But he does put a lovely cross into the box now and again. So playing him further up the pitch with Borges behind him and dropping Iheanacho was a positive step in my eye.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't too disgruntled about the team. What did you make of the team, Dally, before I go into what I thought of it?
Didn't know what the team was until it came out, and I still didn't know what the team was because I don't know a few beers until someone pointed out that the starting 11 was behind us on the biggest screen you've ever seen. So about 5-10 minutes in, when I was trying to work out who was where, obviously I then saw the team. When I look back and I look at it on paper again, I think it's probably got as good as we're going to go for a game of that magnitude at this moment with this squad. I think he had to drop Iheanacho. He was non-existent for an hour and 5 minutes against Norwich. So it was right, Borges. We had a good spell when Borges was in the team, and it was disappointing when he got injured when he did, because him and Johnny Howson, absolute makeshift centre back pairing, ended up being our best defensive run of the season. So it was good to get him back in, and I didn't think I'd say that earlier in the season. But it was good to get him back in the team. But yeah, I think on paper it doesn't matter what 11 we're putting out. In reality, I think there's something about this squad, this whole feel at the moment. There's no character in there. There's no passion. Really, what the team talk should have been is a camera in the concourse before the game. The singing, the passion for it.
Yeah.
So the starting 11 again. Could have put whoever out there. I think if there's no fighting character in the team, we get what we got.
Yeah, no, I agree. Right, the concourse was buzzing. It was uplifting. It was a lot of rowdy people, a lot of noise, a lot of positivity, and people thought, well, we're here now. We might as well give it a crack and see what we can do. And I just thought, well, I'll go into it a bit further going along, but I wish the players would give it a bit of that at times, to be quite honest. But it says something though, John Dan, is we had 3 centre backs on the bench and we still stuck with Howson. That's quite telling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, he's deserved his place in the starting 11. There could have been an argument for him to bolster the midfield and put Rav alongside Dale, or the other two you're talking about, Edmondson and Lenihan. Lenihan was just there to make up the numbers. He was never going to start. But yeah, there could have been an argument to put Howson along in the middle of Hackney and Morris, or just beside Morris and push Hackney a little bit further forward. Because I've said on many occasions, and I believe to be true, that the midfield is the most important sort of part of the team. It supports the back line and it provides for the front. And so you've got to win that area of the pitch. So yes, there could have been an argument for Howson to be pushed up, and maybe Vandenberg alongside Dale.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there could be an argument for that yesterday, to be quite honest, because they could have put William Junior back to left back where he's been, and then put Borges back in the centre alongside Fry. But he went with what he went with. Obviously, he had 2 left-sided players. It was obvious why he went with that when the game rumbled on, because the strength they had down the right side was they had pace with is it Yamamoto I want to say that's his name, and Van Eyck as well, who's got a mental throwing as well. He's got a hell of an arm on him.
Mm-hmm.
So I say,
he's got two, I think.
Well, yeah, he's got. I don't know. He's bad. I don't measure his arms, but no, you're absolutely right. His throwing was ridiculous at times. It caused problems. It did cause problems in the first half. But the game went on. Obviously, we were stunned that way, and Dally. You know, I can't. They started well. They did start well. First 10, 15 minutes, because you could obviously with the crowd up for it as the way they were. The noise was behind. There was a lot of noise from obviously from their side, and there was a lot of noise from us. But once we got through that little storm, because I can imagine that's what Carrick probably said: get through the first 10, 15 minutes, just get us through it, and then we'll have a bit of a goal. I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed there was a lot of space behind their backline. They were very high with the way they were, and Conway was just down for a ball over the top. First time that really happened, Ilin Jr., I mean, I'm not going to lie, the angle I had, I mean, you were a bit further to the right of me. I thought he'd scored. I thought that's close, that.
Yeah.
But it just showed the promise that we had, didn't it, in the first half?
Yeah, but it's not the way that we play football, though, is it? I think that Coventry that confident. That's why they push the line up. We don't think it over the top. It's not our game. You know, we're like the worst. Every single one of them players are like the worst contesting on the chase. Pass, 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 and it has to be the silkiest player to set up the best goal. Sometimes, you know, just long ball in it. Sometimes, like you say, if you see that space, change things up. We don't do it. But yeah, I mean, we had that chance. We had the Finners' chance, which I thought was quite close. Like, I thought initially when I'd seen it, when I saw it live, I thought it was going in the corner. But when you see it on Sky, it's a bit more central to what you think, and it kind of made out it was a brilliant save. It was a good save onto the post, but it was pretty much at him. And you'd expect a goalkeeper, especially in the Championship, to make that save. Apart from that, I don't remember too many other chances in the first half for us.
No, you're right. And I say we were obviously rumbling towards half time, and then John, the killer moment that essentially for me finished it. I know we were in the game in the second half a little bit, but there's two arguments for the first goal. Obviously, Johnny Howson didn't pick his man up as he should have, but the ball shouldn't have even got to where it was. Which side of the fence do you sit on with that? Where do you look at the problem with that goal?
Well, they'd had a lot of success getting down the flanks and putting crosses into the box all game. And it was only a matter of time before, one of them found a Coventry player, because most of them we managed to sort of get rid of, whether it be the defenders, or they would overhit, or Travis came out. And this one found Jack Rodoni unmarked, and it was a good finish. To be fair, he's in good form. He scores a lot of goals for a midfielder, but that's no consolation to us. I thought the ball shifted from our right. It could have been dealt with better there. Than it went to the other side of the pitch, where the ball was eventually delivered in. And I thought we could have defended it and prevented the cross. But like you said, somebody needed to mark Rodoni. He's quite a tall lad. Like I say, he's got a good knack of getting goals. So it was a good finish, but poor from our point of view, that A, we let the cross get in again, and B, that nobody picked him up.
Yeah, like I say, when the ball went hit the net, Dally, the noise obviously coming from the home end, but I just felt the life being sucked away from that away end just before half time. I was like, everybody had the realization of we've got an absolute mountain to climb now.
I just think we had to get a half time, no.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it. Again, fight, character goes out the window when you're leaving a blue shirt in the box with no one marking him, and everyone looking at each other going, well, whose man was that? Yeah, Johnny House was pretty deep, but he's not a centre-back.
No.
Right? And you mentioned we've got centre-backs on the bench, but, Johnny Howson for me yesterday should have been in midfield. I think he reads the game better. I think that's where he's more influential for us. But we decided to put him centre back. He was that deep. He was in row one at the in the away end. Kept their player. It lets their player have a lot of space, and they've scored absolute kick in the teeth when, especially when at that point, I think there was also goal for us at that point as well. And you go into half time, results are going for us. We'd actually won the coin toss, so we were shooting at the away end in the second half. You go into half time, you start shooting towards the away end. I think that might give him a little bit of an extra.
Yeah, the timing of the goal was awful for us, and the way we conceded it. But apart from the first 10 or 15 minutes when they sort of started like a train, I thought we'd done all right. I thought we'd done okay. Illing Junior's effort was inches wide, and as Ben Wilson made a brilliant save. It was literally, if you see it again, literally his fingertips pushed it onto the post. Unlucky, but obviously we go into half time 1-0 down, like Dally said, mountain to climb, and we don't often come back from losing positions. We haven't done it very often this season.
We used to in his first season. The character in that team in the first season, we would always go 1 goal down and we'd come back and win. It was kind of a little trait that we had. We'd have to wait for the opposition to score before we kicked in. But you
remember that song we used to sing in the North Stand, Sally? You score 1, we'll score 3. And you're right, it was that first season we had that character and also confidence, because results. We had a good first season under Carrick when he came in, and we got into the playoffs. We'd had a good run of results, so confidence was high. But it hasn't been this season, because this season we've only had back-to-back wins on 3 occasions, and our biggest winning streak was 3 games, like that QPR, Luton, and who else did we batter? Oxford. That was our best winning sequence. So we haven't really had any momentum to build our confidence up. We should have been after those 3 games.
Yeah.
But I think we won 3 on the bounce, and then we got beat at Blackburn. I think Blackburn 1-0. I think it was. We had confidence in his first season, but the season you're talking about, where we used to come back, we just haven't had it this season, because we've stuttered all the way through the season.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's consistency's been our biggest Achilles heel, to be quite honest, or one of. But like Dally said, we just needed half time. We just need to get in and just say to the players, look, they've that crowd, everything, they've given you everything they've probably got, and it's still 0-0. They've still got to come out and do something, because it did. If it kept it at 0-0, there was a point in the beginning of the second half where Coventry could have was struggling to stay in the playoffs at that point, because Bristol City were getting a point in Blackburn and nicked ahead against Sheffield United. So it was just so disappointing to concede the way we did. And so the players all having a conversation with each other, saying, well, whose fault was that? And I thought, well, you should all know your jobs. You should all know what you're doing. I'll talk a bit. I'll talk about it now. You look at moments like that, and you look at the touchline. And you see what your gaffer's doing on the touchline, because Frank Lampard was all over his technical box, motivating his players, geeing them up, running down the line, doing bits and bobs. Carrick for 3/4 of that game had his hands in his pocket, just stood there, and
it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything, Steve.
Where's the motivation in that? You know what I mean?
No, I've read this morning quotes from the Gazette with regards to pundit on the day. I think it was Troy Deeney, and he's watched maybe his one Borough game this season, and he summed it up perfectly. And I never thought I'd say those words about Troy Deeney, summed something up perfectly, but he has he referred to all they want to do is pass, and where Coventry make little subtle changes, Middlesbrough don't. I had a good discussion when we got back to the pub in Middlesbrough, the Bluewell, when we got back last night. I was talking to quite a few people outside, and I know we'll come on to it. Are you Carrick in? Are you Carrick out? And the one thing for me is he's the manager at the end of the day. He's the head coach. He makes the tactical decisions, but there aren't any. He's far too stubborn. It's exactly the same watching Ange Postecoglou, and that's why we call him Ange Postecoglou, because he believes he's got a formula and he believes it'll work. Yeah. Little things like our goal kicks yesterday, we stood right behind the goal. Our goal kicks yesterday in the way that we set up. Winger on one side of the pitch, winger on the other, full backs as wide as they can be. So we're open. As soon as we lose the ball, there's gaps everywhere and teams play through us. We tried the same goal kick 3 times out to Illan Jr. He didn't win one, and every single time Coventry had the ball and they were at us. Then if you look at the reverse of that, when Coventry get a goal kick, they do the typical old everybody on one side of the pitch. They've got someone to knock it down to. If they lose it, there's pressure on the ball. Just little things. We lose the ball far too easy, and you can pass the ball all day long, but if you're not noticing the high line, dink it over the top, if you're not noticing these little things, he's never made. Michael Carrick has never made, for me this season, a change that has influenced the game for positive. And if you can give me one, I'll take it. He's always reactive with substitutes. We've talked, and that's what's killed us.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, we moved into the second half, and this is where I will give a bit of credit to a couple of players that were on the pitch. I felt Azaz for a start grabbed the game and said, "I need to get on the ball a bit more. I need to be the one that's going to connect us and get the ball forward."
All right, take Oxford out of it.
Yeah.
I know he's got his assists, and I know he's got some goals. He's got a number of goals, but we've needed him to turn up in a big game for so long.
Yeah.
You can do it against your Oxfords. You can do it, against lower place teams. But in a big game, that's where we've needed him to grab the game.
Yeah, I've got to say, fair play to him yesterday. He did grab it because he was demanding the ball, and I just felt he could demand the first half a little bit because they were so open at times. We just didn't, the way we would usually play, we wouldn't get through them. But I just felt the second half though, he grabbed the ball and he did make the passes, he did make the movements and it did move their centre halves about in their midfield, and it did cause them a few issues. I mean, Ben Wilson did make a good few saves in the second half. But one problem we've got, right, I'm going to hold my hands up here. In January, I screamed from the rooftops to get the boy in because he'd be perfect. We spoke about him yesterday. I can see Dallas shaking his head. I'll come to you in a minute. I'll get John's opinion first. Morgan Whittaker. I'm absolutely perplexed about what he's doing at the moment. Obviously, I know what he's doing at the moment. He's probably packing his bag. We're going on holiday for 3 weeks. But I was a bit perplexed by him yesterday. Yes, he hit the post. And there was a few people around me saying, I don't think he's played too bad. I've never seen a footballer so soft and one-footed in all my life. everything's on his left foot, and any player that comes towards him, he's got such a hesitation to back off and not even engage with what's in front of him. I struggled with him yesterday, and I was screaming for him to go off after 55 minutes. What's your take on him?
Yeah, he come to Middlesbrough because he was doing the business for Plymouth against all the other championship teams, including ourselves. However, since coming to Middlesbrough, he's yet to score. He hasn't really taken any game by the scruff of the neck and stamped his authority on it. Yeah, he struggled. He struggled badly. I don't know. Yeah, and Dally's talking about it as I think in your team you need a bit of silk and steel. We've got no steel at the moment, and I think Azaz is a very, very good player. He sometimes the accusation is that he doesn't turn on against the better teams. But when did the team as a whole perform against the better teams? We struggle. But years ago, we had a player at the Borough, Heine Otto. He was far too good for our team. He was a fantastic player, not tough, but he was a great player. Azaz would be fantastic. He's been played out of position. He's been changed from left to right. He's better in the middle. He's a very, very good player. And I'm not particularly bothered if he only does it against the lower teams. I think I want all our players to do it against the better team, not just point the finger at Azaz and say it's his fault or he's responsible. The better teams are the better teams. That's why they're up there. They've got a stronger team. They've got a stronger squad. It can't be one man to shine amongst a better opposition team. We need all our players to help and support him. He yesterday could have brought us back into the game. He missed a sitter, and it was a sitter right in the centre of the goal. There was a couple of people on the line, but it's got to be put away. It has to be put away. And at 1-1, Coventry start to get a little bit nervous. But as the game wore on, we had to push up, and they were catching us on the break. And we had to rely on Travers a couple of times. But if Azaz had got that equaliser, which he should have done, then the game changes. The mentality of the Coventry team changes. But it didn't happen. And we saw how the game panned out.
I think going back to Whittaker.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't watched him play that much. I'd only seen little snippets of him, I'll be honest with you, before he came. But there was a lot of positivity about the signing. And when I look at him and I watch him play, I can't work out because there must be a player there, the way that people, wax circle about him, you did say, the way that there was a big, did he score for Plymouth against Brentford in the FA Cup?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you see that, and I don't know when I look back at it, if how he left Plymouth and the whole little spat with their manager, I don't know if that's got in his head. Now, I ain't making excuses for him because when I've watched him, I've scratched my head every time. People slate Iheanacho and say we're playing with 10 men when Iheanacho's playing. But you're playing with 9 men, will they both play? Because for me, I haven't seen anything. And I hear people say, he's a technically good footballer. Is he? Because I ain't seen that.
You've seen it in flashes. You've seen it in short bursts. But I think did he come on against Plymouth? And I think he had a good 15, 20 minutes. But it's not worked for him at the moment. It's not worked for him at the moment.
We spent a good chunk of money on him. 15 or 20 minutes over, what would it be, 20 odd games? Not good enough.
No, that's just one game I've picked out, Dally. I'm sure he's done well in others. I just can't recall every bit of it.
Is he playing out of position? Again, I don't know. I haven't studied him, his career. Is he a number 10? Have we got too many number 10s, as daft as it sounds? Because we're trying to accommodate these players. Is better behind? Is better in the number 10? We keep pushing him out.
We are playing Iheanacho as a number 10,
yeah.
And he's not a number 10.
When I've seen the games he played for Plymouth, I mean, yes, I know it's Plymouth. I fully get that. He played on that right hand side. He liked to get at his full back and cut in, because the trick was to keep him on his right foot, because that's where he struggled. But the amount of times he cut in with it, even with ease, as much as they tried to stop him, and either pinged it top corner or did something to put a ball in the box and created a goal. I know Plymouth fans were all obviously a bit bitter about how he left and the circumstances in which he did leave, but they all said there's a player there until you really need him to stick into a fight. And we've been in a fight since January to just keep ourselves above water, keep ourselves in this fight. And unfortunately, he's gone missing. He's not, and Carrick put a quote out, didn't he? I think it was a couple of months ago, and people asked him about Whittaker. He'll do all right next season. Well, you just pay $6 million for him for next season. We don't want that next season. We want it now. That's why you pay the money in January, to make that impact.
And the thing is, when he came to us in January, we already had Ben Doak, who was having a fantastic time in Whittaker's favoured position. So again, it was a case of accommodating him elsewhere. And yeah, I'll agree with what you're saying, Dally. We haven't seen a great deal of him.
Yeah, look, I hope it comes good, because we've spent the money on him and we need him to come good.
That's it.
But just from what I've seen, I expected more. And it has been. I mean, you look at this season; everything's been a failure this season, and he's part of that as well.
He is, yeah, and obviously we'll talk about it in a little bit about what this does for Michael Carrick's job. But to finish off the game yesterday, you could feel the nerves were starting to kick in with Coventry. The fans were starting to get a bit nervy, because you're thinking we're still 1-0 here. If Borough do get a goal, catch a lucky break, and get back in the team, then we could be in a bit of bother here, because you could feel it in you. But as soon as that second goal went in, Thomas is starting to get in behind Dale Fry, the pace, and then the ball getting squared to Radoni.
Yeah, but it sums our season up. Look where they get 5-10 seconds before that goal. Mm-hmm. Whittaker takes it on the goalkeeper.
Yep.
And straight from that we concede.
Yeah.
How quick did they move the ball up the pitch?
Really
which
quick.
Is something that we are not good at doing. But I did think that Dale Fry made a decision there to lunge in, and it was the wrong choice. And Thomas Asante was away, and he was never going to be caught. To be honest, he's quite quick. And yeah, second goal was scored, and that was game over. But like I said, the way they moved the ball from virtually off their goal line, like you say, what Dally said, the Whittaker rounded the keeper. It was virtually a yard out, and then within 10-15 seconds we were 2-0 down. That's what we don't do.
No, they made, Frank Lampard made the right changes. He made the right changes at the right time, and one of the changes was
he made changes at the right time.
Yeah, that was the difference yesterday. The game was screaming out for the guys in charge to make the changes that we're going to make the impact, make the difference, and that's what Lampard did. And I say, as soon as that ball hit in there for the second, everybody's like, yeah, we expected it. It was going to be a tough task going there, but it still hurt watching us fold the way we did, and it just obviously that's when the anger started coming out of a lot of people, including me. I was very angry. I was very disappointed. I was very hurt. It was horrible. It was a horrible feeling. It's not nice, watching your season fall at that moment. And it just took me back to a couple of years ago, and I thought, it's them again. It's them again. Coventry.
It's a big game again.
Yeah.
Apart from Chelsea at home, give us a big game we've won.
Sheffield United away a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Sunderland away.
So,
not many. I'll give you that. Not many. But you look at this season. I broke our season down into blocks of 12 games. Obviously, we only pay 46. So the first 12, we took 18 points out of 36. The second block of 12, which took us up to the end of the year, we got 19 points. And then from January the 1st, the next 12 games, we got 13 points out of 36. And the last 10 games, we got 14 points out of 30. Now, that's not consistent enough through any sort of quarter of the season for a team to be looking to be top two, which at the beginning of the season I thought we might be. I was quite pleased with the squad we had, but it's you need to get about 2 points a game. So in the first block of 12, we got 18. If we get 2 points a game, 24, we would have been thereabouts. The second block of 12, we got 19, again, behind a total of 2 a game. And in the third quarter, we took 13 points out of 36. Now, obviously, that was after January, when we lost Latiola, and Conway had a spell injured, and we scored 13 goals. Sorry, we picked up 13 points out of 36. But even if you look at our last 10 games, 14 points out of 30, just not good enough. Not it's not even 1.5 points out of per game. It's just not good enough, and that's why we found ourselves 36 points behind the top two.
Look at the championship.
It's a massive amount.
The championship's crazy. Always said, stay with the pack till March. Stay with the pack till March and go on a run, and you can get in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Right? You look at, and we were with the pack, but then how many times this season? So you start the season, and we were walloping teams, but we weren't getting the results, and we all said, it'll come. We'll smash someone, but we were still saying it in October, and that's 2 months of the season gone. We then give someone a hiding, and we started picking. We were picking up the odd win here and there. Then we have a crazy November, scoring goals for fun. Get to December, you get to that half time at Sheffield Wednesday on Boxing Day, you're 3-0 up, and it was just self-destruct. Then we go and sell our best striker, our best player. We'll talk about it again. We'll go into this one in the next week's show. But
yeah,
worst bit of transfer business I think this club's ever done, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
then we just implode. But I know you've looked at and you've broke it down there, John. You've gone 12. But what I would say to you is, obviously, I've touched on there. Stay with the pack till March. Look at the last 5 games. Every week the results were going for us. Good result against Norwich, who had nothing to play for. We went to Luton away, got beat at Millwall. again, I don't know. I'm so glad it's over. I'm so glad it's over.
Last 6 games, right, where it's the real crunch time. We won 1, we drew 1, and we lost 4. We got what we deserved.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
and
it amazingly went to the last game.
yeah,
we shouldn't have been given that chance. We were given chances throughout the season, chances to sort of like pull away from the pack, as you call it, Dally up. But we just spurned every single one.
I think double-ended sword, because on one hand, absolutely desperate for him to get in the playoffs. Absolutely, you're desperate to get there, and then you look and think, we could have stunk the place out, and how would we get there? Could we have done a Huddersfield 0-0 our way through it and get through on penalties on both games? But then you look at it as well, you think, well, if we did manage to get to the Premier League, that team would get 4 points. A win away at Newcastle and a draw home at Newcastle, and that'd be it.
But Jolly, you take it. Jolly, you take it. Which club? No club in this division can turn down 150 to 200 million pounds. How are they going to get that otherwise? So, if the opportunity's there, you take it. However, we were given opportunities
exactly
on a weekly basis, and we didn't take them.
Honestly, it would have cost us a fortune. As a fan, it would cost you a fortune, because you're talking 30 quid a ticket for a home game in the playoffs. Then you're talking an away game, 30, 40 quid a ticket, travel, beer. Then you're looking at Wembley, you're booking hotels. So in all fairness, they've saved us an absolute fortune. So for that, yeah. I'm absolutely gutted that we don't have to do it, if I'm honest with you. But it could have been embarrassing. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts were, Steve, at the end when the players came over at the end of the game.
People look at this, and this is going to be a strong opinion. This, I mean, I've got about just to quickly touch on what you said about stats in it with everything about that. I said you something, John, didn't know about the last half of the season, and we won 8 games. That's not good enough. It's nowhere near good enough. So, but I'll dissect all that next week and next Monday, and go through what points we really did muck this up. But the bit that got me yesterday, full time obviously when they were, obviously their fans were bouncing, the stands were bouncing. 2 players sat on the floor, well 3, gutted. Obviously there was a lot of disappointed faces. 4 of the players turned their backs on us. Like they all stood there in front of us in the away, like in front of the away end. 4 initially had their backs to us, and I thought, this is on you. This is on what you've done this season, which has not been good enough. Turn around and take the flack that you're going to get, because we're all disappointed. Take it like men.
Who was that today?
I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I was one of the few sober people there yesterday, but I'm certain one was Bergsorg, one was Zaz, one was Conway. I can see why Conway was, so I won't get too harsh on him, because he was absolutely inconsolable about. I can't remember who the other one was. I mean, people could pick that and go, how can you say that? Turn around and look at us. Look at us. We're the ones that paid all that money. We're the ones that spent all our time. Whether you've been to all the home games, whether you've been to 1 away game, whether you've been to 23 away games, it doesn't matter. We paid the money to watch you do that. We backed you all the way. No one can say that away end wasn't loud yesterday, because it was. We were all screaming, praying that something happened, and it didn't. And then the worst bit, Carrick went round all the players and said his thank yous and whatever's. A couple of players waved by. Ian Acho, had the guts to wave his arm wave. Carrick stood there and put his hands up, which for me, fair play, because he went, "That's on me." He took the flak, and he got a lot of stick. He did get a lot of stick, which made me think I know exactly where the fan base are with it. And then watching Johnny Howson, and you said to me, Dally, didn't you? Watching him in tears was absolutely heartbreaking to watch. Obviously, what's being said after the game, it doesn't sound like it might be his last game. We don't know. We'll have to wait in the coming weeks when that comes. But yeah, for some players to turn the backs on the away end, and
I think it was. I never took it that way. I'll be honest with you. Did I clap? Nah.
No, I didn't.
I stood. I think it's the weakest football team as collectively I've seen, and I tried to scratch my brain and I thought back to teams like, you know, some rotten teams we've seen, the likes of, you know, when we've had Gordon Strachan. Was it his week then? I don't know. I think it was bad, and I remember it being that bad that I knocked it on the head at that point. Am I at that stage? No, I'm not. I don't know. I wasn't going to clap them. I stood there. Did I boo Carrick? Nah. I think the decision will be made if the decision's made. I was just gutted for Johnny Howson.
Yeah, I was.
Who's been a brilliant pro. People have got opinions on it, but I don't think you can lose someone like that. The character, he gets it. He's not the most vocal player, and I think if he was more vocal, the way that Ledbetter was, would that work? But he's a totally different person, isn't he? A totally different character. I wouldn't want to lose him. I think he'll play anywhere, and he'll put his heart and soul into it.
Spot on. I mean, yeah, it was heartbreaking to see. It was horrible. It wasn't nice. You know, he was one of the few players that came out of the season with some credit. You know, massively, and I was just gutted. I was absolutely gutted. Stood there.
We get the cat in the team because the cat's more.
I know. He's more vocal than what Carrick was yesterday.
Cat's gutted.
He saw me coming last night. He saw my face. So, but I won't ask for your man of the matches for unless you want to give me a man of the match for yesterday, because I feel on such a disappointing outcome. I don't want to say, you know, he was still my best player on that pitch, and he did this, because I can only give it to Finn Azaz, if I'm quite honest. If I'm really, really honest. I don't know if you two want to put a name at me. No.
Johnny Howson.
There you go. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you could spend all night in the pub with a table full of beers talking about this season, talking about individual matches, going through the matches, going through individual players, and we've only got like an hour, so I mean we'll cover quite a bit on the next one.
We will.
But yeah, just a disappointing season, given what I personally and what others who I spoke to hoped for. 64 points, 36 points behind the top two, only 4 points away from the playoffs. But it's been a very, very poor championship, apart from the three teams. And I hope Sheffield United win it purely and simply because they've had a decent season. I don't like Chris Wilder, but they've had a decent season, even with them starting off with a -2 points tally. So I hope they get to Wembley in the playoffs and win the final. But just so disappointing for Butter.
Yeah, but I mean, if I want to be selfish, I'll say let Coventry or Bristol City go up, because to say they're both our bogey teams, I can't stand the pair of them. Get rid of one of them.
I never want to see Coventry City again in my life.
No, I don't want to be at the CBS arena again in my life. But I mean, we all know if we are there next year, I will be there. Of course I will. But I hate that place. I absolutely hate that place. Cost me nothing but hearty. I've only ever walked out that place once, a bit of positivity, and that was the first leg of the playoffs. And we went drew 0-0. And we all walked out and went, right, we all came in and said, don't get beat, and we didn't. But last 5 minutes before, because I don't want to divulge too much into the season, because we'll do that next week. And we'll round all this off with, all the highs and lows. And, I'll start with you, Dally. There was a lot of discussion on the way home. Are you Carrick in? Are you Carrick out? What would you do now? Which camp are you in now?
I change all the time. I come out of a game disappointed and say he's got to go, and then I sit and I think about it logically and think he's had his best player taken out of it, taken away from him, and the replacement that we brought in was like chalk and cheese. But I've never known a manager come into a football club with no backroom staff. Yep. He's kind of been given a backroom staff that he's got to work with, but for me, the only coach he's brought in is his brother. So then that's kind of for me a negative. Like, he could be the nicest guy in the world, but realistically, footballing, terms, my only knowledge is that he's dealt with the kids at Newcastle, which we've never tapped into any resources. He's never gone for a kid at Newcastle that he's recommended. We've never gone for a kid at Man United, where he's got all these connections. Tactically inept, but I scratch my head as to why. People might love it, people might hate it, but we should have brought the likes of. I listened to him, in October, Mogger. I think he would have been brilliant behind the scenes. But for me, Mike Phelan and Nicky Butt, Steve McLaren, they're the decisions. If he's going to stay, he has to change that backroom staff, because he needs more. He needs someone to tell him where we're going wrong, and he needs that help, and he needs to stop being stubborn. So at the minute, I'm on the fence. Do you know what? No, I don't know. Part of me does want him gone. Part of me wants it to work for him.
But, you've got 8 days to think about, so have a good think about it for next week.
I'll say at the minute the way I'm feeling, because I'm still a bit raw after yesterday. I'll say out.
Okay, John, I'll come to you before I put my 2 pence in.
Dally's made a fair point. I would consider Carrick continuing as head coach if he was able to have somebody alongside him of his choice, rather than somebody his team chosen for him. There's got to be somebody who is the total opposite to Michael Carrick. There's got to be good cop, bad cop, so to speak. There's got to be someone in there who will fling boots in the dressing room and let the players know exactly where they're lacking. You could put your arms on players, but also you can kick them up the backside and saying that's not good enough. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'll say, if he is allowed to bring in his own staff, then go with him again. But I fully understand if that doesn't happen. I fully understand, because of the season we've had and the recurring problems that we see from the squad and the team and performances. I fully understand if his contract's terminated. So at the moment, it's stay with Carrick, but give him the team that he wants, not force the backroom staff on him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've got to stick with what I said. If we don't get playoffs, he's got to go. I like the guy. We've met the guy. We spoke to him. He's very laid back. He's very likable. But watching us fall apart since January, and yes, there was mitigating circumstances that caused us to do that, and things didn't quite go our way, and things went wrong. But we need a fresh start. We need a complete new outlook to it, and I'll I'll put in more information on what I say on that. But for me, I can't think of us starting August with Carrick, Woodgate, and his brother stood there. I can't. I can't. We've tried it; it's failed, and that's how we see it. So, but yeah, we'll go into that next week because we'll talk about that next week because we'll talk about all our highs, all our highlights, all our lows. Our goals of the season, our gaffes of the season because we've had a few of them. Defender wise. So yeah, we'll do that next week. But yeah, disappointed, very very disappointed with how it's gone. Can't really go any more than that. So thank you both for popping on and doing this tonight instead of tomorrow. Enjoy your bank holiday. Tomorrow, enjoy your. I was gonna say enjoy your day off work, but you've been off work for a while, John. So anyway, but yeah, you know what I mean. Enjoy your bank holiday. Thank you very much for listening and commenting and liking and subscribing and being in touch with us all season. We'll put some out during the week of what we want from you with regards to where we go for next week and what we're going to talk about. But yeah, thank you so much. Toodaloo, arrivederci, be seeing you. I'll see you next week. Au revoir.